So today I'll be continuing with my schedule discussion and point spread prediction videos. Today I'll be doing Nebraska. So Nebraska is a program that used to be really good and has been in the garbage can for a long time now. They haven't been to a bowl game since 2016, so it's been 8 years. And they had a first year head coach last year, though. Um, uh, and I don't think he's a bad coach. I don't think he's a great one, but he has had success at other places before. His name is Matt Rhule. And I think at Nebraska will probably be improved this year and probably in uh, that streak of missing a bowl game. And last year, their offense was a disaster, uh, especially at the quarterback position. Like all of those Big Ten West division offenses were. Uh, that will have to be better this year. And their defense did decent, but really, I think that was partly because that Big Ten West division that they played in, all of the offenses uh, of those teams were so bad. Mm, and on this schedule, in the non-conference, they get two uh, games that should be easy wins. Mm, UTEP and Northern Iowa. Uh, I think Nebraska is good enough now to where they can win both of these easily. Mm, Now, UTEP, of course, will be tougher than Northern Iowa. Well, and their Power Four opponent in the non-conference is Colorado. So this seems like a rematch of the national championship game because of all the hype that Colorado got last year for beating Nebraska, when really all it did was show that Nebraska is horrible again for losing to a team as bad as Colorado was. I think this year Nebraska, especially playing at home, can probably beat Colorado. And really, for me to be able to take Nebraska seriously, they're going to have to beat Colorado. Really, the first thing they need to do to uh, mm, prove that they're probably not horrible again is beat Colorado because uh, mm, Colorado is going to be horrible again. And Nebraska really needs to start 3-0. And then they start their conference schedule against Illinois. I think Nebraska should be able to win this one, especially with it being a home game. And Illinois, I think, might be the worst team in the Big Ten this year. And then they have on the road at Purdue. These are the kind of games that Nebraska seems to always be have been losing recently. I know they didn't lose to Purdue last year, but they've been losing so much to teams like Purdue that uh, recruit near the bottom of the Power Four. Uh, mm, and I know Nebraska has been bad recently, uh, and they don't recruit near as well as they used to, but still they recruit better than programs like Purdue. So they need to win this game. And then they have Rutgers. Uh, Rutgers, I don't think is going to be very good. They never really are very good. And especially playing at home, Nebraska should win this one. And then they take a week off before playing Indiana on the road. So I know Indiana is usually horrible and they don't have much of a home field advantage, but still, I think this probably isn't a bad time to take a week off because Nebraska's been horrible too recently. Now, Indiana, like Purdue, recruits near the bottom of the Power Four. Uh, but Nebraska uh, really needs to win this game. And really, of these first 7 games, Nebraska could win all of them. Now, I'm not saying I think they will. They probably won't win all of them, but they really need to at least go 6-1 in those first 7 games because after that, the schedule is going to get a lot tougher for them. Mm, and then they would already have a bowl game for sure. But like if you know much about college football, there's no way you could really be thinking. I think Nebraska is could lose for sure, or I think Nebraska is for sure going to lose to Colorado, or I think Nebraska is for sure going to lose to Illinois or Purdue or Rutgers or Indiana. Now, of course, with Colorado, if you're a Coach Prime lover, Dummy, you probably think that there's no way Nebraska could beat Colorado, but if you're just a normal college football fan that knows a lot about it, you wouldn't be thinking that. Mm, and then after that, they have on the road at Ohio State. Now, I'll go and tell you there's no chance that I'll pick Nebraska to beat Ohio State when I do my predictions. And there's no chance that Nebraska will beat Ohio State. That doesn't mean Nebraska's terrible, but Ohio State, I think, might be the best team in the country this year. And they're probably going to blow out 3/4 of their opponents, including Nebraska. And then they play UCLA. I think Nebraska has a good chance to beat them. I don't think UCLA is going to be very good. Uh, and then they take another week off before playing USC on the road, which is probably going to be a loss. Now, it's not like Ohio State where Nebraska will have no chance to win. They'll have a chance to beat USC, but I do think that USC is probably going to have too much offense for Nebraska to keep up with. And then they have Wisconsin. This is one that Nebraska will have a good chance in. Home field advantage should help. Uh, but it's going to be a really tough one. Mm, and then they play Iowa on the road the Friday after Thanksgiving, which is when that game is always played. It'll be a tough one, but winnable. Really, Nebraska won't have to get a whole lot better, I don't think, as a team to be able to improve their record by a lot this year. Because really, all of those teams in that Big Ten West division, I think, were really about the same, and there were a whole lot of close games. Just Iowa was able to win all of theirs, which is why they won that division. But Nebraska, I know they had a much worse record than Iowa did, but I don't really think they were much worse as a team than Iowa because uh, Nebraska finished 5-7 last year, and they went 1-5 in close games. So if they'd have won those 5 close games, they'd have been 10-2, which is what Iowa was. Uh, mm, and they'll probably get better in year 2 of this coach being there in close games. Mm, so now I'll move on to the point spread prediction. Mm, So, if you want to see more about how I do point spreads, you can watch my Ohio State video. I explain it more in that. But the games in the green are games where I think Nebraska will be favored to win by a blowout, so 20 or more points. And there's 2 of those, UTEP and Northern Iowa. And then the games in the pink are games where I think Nebraska will be about a field goal favorite. So 1 to 5 points, and that's half the schedule, 6 games. Colorado, Illinois, Purdue, Rutgers, Indiana, and UCLA. And the games in the gray are games where I think Nebraska will be about a field goal underdog. So that's 1 to 5 points. And there's two of those at Wisconsin and Iowa. Uh, and then the games in the yellow are games where I think Nebraska will be about a touchdown underdog. So 6 to 9 points. And there's one of those, USC. And then the games in the red are games where I think Nebraska will be a blowout underdog, so 20 or more points. And there's one of those, Ohio State. Mm, so UTEP, Nebraska should be favored somewhere in the low 20s in that one. And then Northern Iowa, they should be favored in that one by over 30 points. And Colorado, because of home field advantage for Nebraska, I think they'll be favored by about 3 in that one. And Illinois, I think Nebraska will be favored by 4 or 5 points in that one. And Purdue, because it's a road game, that's really close to being a toss up. But I think Nebraska is probably good enough to where they'll be favored by about a point in that one, even on the road. Uh, and Rutgers, I think Nebraska will probably be favored by about 3 in that one because of home field advantage. And they'll probably be favored by about 3 against Indiana. And then probably about 3 against UCLA because it's a home game. They'd probably be an underdog against UCLA if it was a road game. Mm, and USC, I think it will be favored to beat Nebraska by about 7 points. Mm, and mm, Wisconsin, I think will probably be favored by about a point in that one. Mm, uh, and Iowa, mm, I think it will be favored to beat Nebraska by about 3, probably. Mm, That'd be a toss up or really close to one if it was at Nebraska. Mm, And Ohio State, I think, will be favored to beat Nebraska by around 25 points. Mm, and uh, that will be it with this video. And uh, please subscribe to the channel. And thanks for watching another video. And I'll be back soon.